That works. That'll get your attention. Okay, everybody hear me all right? All right, so here we are. This is take 2 of the June 13th Big Island Spectacular Tour, 12:15, give or take. Again, appreciate your guys' flexibility. Everybody hear me okay? Music, intercom volume acceptable for everybody? Not too loud, not too quiet? If you have questions or comments as we go, feel free to use those intercoms. To use them, you're going to press and hold the button down, put it close to your mouth, and speak loudly and clearly. If you can't hear yourself, I probably can't hear you. Also be aware that I'll be monitoring some radios that you guys won't be hearing, and so occasionally if you have a question or comment, I may miss part or all of it due to radio traffic. If I realize I missed a question, I'll ask you to repeat it. If I miss it completely, I'm not deliberately ignoring anybody. Maybe just feel free to ask the question again a minute or two later. Sound good? Anybody have any questions about your passenger briefing up on the Lanai? Any questions at all? Alrighty. These guys want me to take something to the Helo airport. Oh, sunglasses. They were joking.
Honest, I told him I could wait till I got back.
Oh, that's all right. We want everyone to be very comfortable during the flight. Okay guys, we're all set for takeoff, but we can't take off without some fun and maybe just a little bit cheesy takeoff music. We'll see if any of you guys recognize this one. Oh yeah. Here we go. That's some good stuff right there. All right, guys, so we just departed the Waikoloa heliport. We'll be heading southeast towards Kilauea, one of the 5 volcanoes here on the Big Island. And now that we're airborne, things are a little bit noisier, a little bit louder. So I'd check with you guys one more time as far as intercom and music volume goes. Everybody happy? Not too loud, not too quiet?
Good here.
All right, very good. So I mentioned we're on our way to see Kilauea, right? That's the first major point of interest on the tour. It's one of the 5 volcanoes that we have on the Big Island. From where we sit right now, we can see at least parts of the other 4 volcanoes. If we start over on our left-hand side, about 9 o'clock, reference to the nose, you can see Kohala. Kohala is the oldest volcano on the Big Island. It's about 1 million years old. It's classified as an extinct volcano. It's been 60,000 years since Kohala's last eruption. It's about 5,500 feet above sea level at its summit. And we'll be spending some quality time in and around Kohala on the second part of the tour after we visited Kilauea, when we head up the Hamakua coast, and then we check out some of the valleys and waterfalls that Kohala has to offer. Now just to the left of our nose, about 11 o'clock, somewhat obscured by cloud cover, you can see Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea is a dormant volcano. It's been about 4,500 years since Mauna Kea's last eruption. Mauna Kea is the tallest point on the Big Island. In fact, it's the tallest point in all the Pacific. At its summit, Mauna Kea is just shy of 13,800 feet above sea level. Now, off at about 1 o'clock, mostly obscured by clouds, but you can sort of see the lower slopes of it. Sorry about that. Just so you gotta warn you, my arm will be kind of going in and out of here. That's Mauna Loa. That's one of the 3 active volcanoes that we have. Mauna Loa's last eruption was in 1984. Mauna Loa is the world's largest volcano. And it's not quite as tall as Mauna Kea. It's about 13,600 feet change above sea level, but it's much more massive. And then finally off to our right-hand side here at about 2 to 3 o'clock, we have Hualalai. Hualalai is another active volcano. It's the one that sits above Kona. About 8,300 feet above sea level at its summit. Hualalai's last eruption was in 1801. If any of you guys flew into the Kona airport, all those lava fields in and around the Kona airport, that's from the 1801 flow from Hualalai. So again, left to right, we got Kohala, Mauna Kea, Mauna Loa, and Hualalai. So that's 4 of the 5. And of course, the 5th and final one, Kilauea. It'll be a little while yet before we lay eyes on Kilauea. Everybody doing okay so far? Feeling good? All right. So I know we did a little bit of small talk while we were waiting on the EcoStar. Let me just see if I remember. Karen, you were from LA, right? Pat and Judd, you guys were from Denver? And then Talia and Naomi, you were from Colorado. Is that correct? All right. Now, have any of you guys, I know, Karen, I think you mentioned that you've flown in a helicopter before. Have any of the rest of you done this before? Or is this your first time? You guys have done it before? Oh, okay. Great. Well, again, my name is Scott. Again, if you have questions, comments, requests, let me know as we go. I'll do my best to answer them. I won't claim to know all the answers. But my goal is to try to make this as pleasant and enjoyable a flight for you guys as I can. Okay, this area of relatively low ground that we see off at about 1 o'clock, that's called the saddle. Low ground that sits between Mauna Loa on the right and Mauna Kea on the left. And I use the term relatively low because compared to Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa, it's pretty low, but the highest point of the saddle is over 6,000 feet above sea level. So we'll probably be climbing up to 7, 8, maybe 9,000 feet above sea level on our way over to Kilauea. In the saddle, there's a big military training complex called the Pohakaloa Training Area. It's about 100,000 acres, and essentially it's a big range complex where the military does different types of weapons training, everything from small arms fire to artillery to aerial gunnery. And ordinarily, there's no troops that are out here utilizing the range, so we can kind of fly right through the middle and make a more direct route towards Kilauea. But recently we got a heads up that there are going to be some troops out here for a while doing some training, so rather than try to slalom through any bullets or missiles or artillery rounds that might be going off, we're going to skirt outside the range on the north side and sort of hug the lower slopes, the southern slopes of Mauna Kea until we get past it. Then we'll be turning a little bit more to the south and a more direct route towards Kilauea. And as we make our way from the west side over towards the east side of the island, we'll start to transition from the dry side of the island to the wet side of the island. All this cloud cover that you see over on the left-hand side, that's the eastern side of the island, and that's very typical weather. The trade winds are the predominant weather influence out here. They blow about 90% of the time. They generally blow from the northeast to the southwest. So the vast majority of the time, any moist air that gets blown over these islands is going to make landfall on the eastern side. That's why the eastern side of the Hawaiian Islands are more commonly referred to as the windward side, which makes the west side the leeward side. So trade wind driven moist air makes landfall on the east side. It rises with the rising terrain. We've got a lot of that here on the Big Island. As it rises, it cools with altitude. Cool air can't hold as much moisture as warm air, so the air becomes saturated, clouds form, and rain falls. Very little of that rain makes it over to the west side. The east side as a whole averages a staggering 200 inches of rainfall a year as a whole. Obviously some parts more, some parts less. By comparison, the west side, where we're departing from, about 15 to 20 inches as a whole on average. So there's a very, very pronounced difference between the two sides of the islands. As we get closer to Kilauea, you'll start to see more green, more lush foliage, forests, and more cloud cover as well. Okay, we got a little bit of controlled airspace that sets up here in the saddle as part of the Waikoloa training area. That's for Bradshaw Army Airfield. We'll see that in a little bit. I've already taken care of our radio calls. And as I mentioned, we'll be hugging the lower slopes of Mauna Kea until we get past the restricted area out here, and then turn a little bit more directly towards Kilauea. As you look around in the saddle here, as well as off our nose, you can see what appear to be almost like little mini volcanoes. We got one right off our nose here. We got a cluster of them off our right-hand side. Those are called pu'us. A pu'u is simply an eruption site associated with one of the 5 major volcanoes. These volcanoes have been created over hundreds of thousands of years by layer upon layer of lava flows growing on top of each other. And it's not really the most robust way to build landmass. There are many cracks, weak points, fissures in these layers of volcanic rock. They're more commonly referred to as rifts. And when the volcanoes are active and erupting and lava is welling towards the surface, the lava will behave like any sort of a fluid, meaning it'll try to follow the path of least resistance. Rather than have the lava well all the way up to the summit or the caldera of a volcano, many times the lava will find an easier way, an easier path by flowing along one of those rifts and then emerging lower on the slopes of the volcano. Now when you get one of these surface flows of lava that are a little bit more violent or forceful in nature, meaning that the lava is not just oozing out, but it's being expelled out more forcefully, some of that lava spatter can start to pile up, and if it cools rapidly, you'll get a steeper sloped cinder cone shaped pu'u like we see all throughout the saddle area. You'll tend to see these pu'us in clusters and in lines, and that's going to help to pinpoint the location of one of those volcanic rifts. So we've got 5 major volcanoes, but we probably have hundreds of these pu'us all over the Big Island. Good example of that. Now if you look off to your right-hand side, you can't really see the summit of Mauna Loa just yet because of the cloud cover, but if you If you looked from where the summit would be behind the clouds and then you followed the ridgeline down and to the left, you see a series of those pu'us all along the ridgeline over there on the right-hand side. And that shows you the location of the eastern rift of Mauna Loa. And there's Bradshaw Army Airfield down there at about 1 o'clock on the right side and paralleling Saddle Road. And then beyond that you can see little Quonset hut area. That's where the troops that come out here and do their training in the Pahalakaloa training area oftentimes are quartered. Let's talk a little bit about Mauna Kea, the volcano at our left side. On the top of Mauna Kea, you can't really see it right now because we're so close up to it, but at different parts around, different parts of the island during the tour, we may be able to see the summit of Mauna Kea. On the summit of Mauna Kea, we have 13 space observatories representing 11 different countries. The top of Mauna Kea is the best place on Earth to view and study the stars. Several reasons for that. One, 90% of the stars that are viewable from Earth you can see from the top of Mauna Kea. Two, those trade winds that I mentioned, the predominant weather influence, well, they tend to create a temperature inversion that locks cloud cover in at lower altitudes. So you don't often get clouds with tremendous vertical development out here. Clouds that form in and around Mauna Kea ordinarily will top out somewhere between 7,000 and 9,000 feet above sea level. And so the summit of Mauna Kea at nearly 14,000 feet is usually well above any clouds forming around it. So you don't often have clouds obscuring the telescope's view of the stars. And then three, where we sit out here in the middle of the Pacific, it's a pretty dark part of the world, no huge cities around, not much light at nighttime created by man. So you get really crisp, clear images from the top of Mauna Kea, the crispest, clearest that you'll get from anywhere else on Earth. Mauna Kea is Hawaiian for White Mountain. No snow on it now, but in the winter months it's not that uncommon to have snow on the upper portions of Mauna Kea. In fact, from the Saddle Road you can drive up, it's a public road, the Mauna Kea Access Road will take you up to the summit of Mauna Kea. And when you get a pretty good snowfall up in the upper portions of Mauna Kea, it becomes quite an event. People will drive up there, they'll do skiing, snowboarding, sledding. They'll sled it, you know, whatever they can get their hands on, they'll do sledding with. It's a good 40 plus degrees cooler up on the upper portions of Mauna Kea than it is down in the coastal regions. Again, because of the tremendous altitude. How's everybody doing? This little bit of turbulence doesn't end up upsetting anybody, is it?
Can you drive up there at night?
That's my understanding, but I don't know that you'd want to, because it's going to be really dark. That's true. You can see the stars, yeah. But it might be a little, I don't know. Never heard anybody driving up the top of Mauna Kea because the road's not going to be lit at all. You probably could, though. It's a good question. I'll have to look into that. No one's asked me that before. Okay, let's talk about Mauna Loa on our right-hand side. Mauna Loa, as I mentioned before, it's the largest volcano on Earth. It accounts for over 50% of the land mass of the Big Island. At its summit, nearly 13,000, well, it's about 13,600 plus feet above sea level. But keep in mind, too, that these dimensions that I'm throwing around regarding the volcanoes, this is their height above sea level. Where the Hawaiian Islands are situated, it's a very deep part of the Pacific. It's about 18,000 feet deep on average around these islands. And so we see nearly 14,000 feet above sea level in Mauna Kea on the left and Mauna Loa on the right. We don't see them more than 18,000 feet of them below sea level. So each of these two mountains, each of these two volcanoes from base to summit's over 32,000 feet tall, which makes them both taller than Mount Everest. And scientists have calculated regarding Mauna Loa on the right that it's about 10,000 cubic miles of rock. It's really, really massive. I'm going to make a couple quick radio calls. I'll be right back with you guys. As we look at some of these lava flows out here in the saddle that we see coming down from Mauna Loa, you can start to distinguish we've got two basic types of lava and lava rock that are produced by our volcanoes. We have this slightly darker colored, very, very chunky, rough textured lava rock, and that's called A'a lava rock. You see a lot of that over there on near the resorts along Queen Kaahumanu Highway. And then some of the stuff that we see right out the right door here, a little bit lighter colored, smoother textured lava rock. That's called Pahoehoe lava rock. The A'a lava, the really rough textured chunky stuff, we get that when you have a cooler lava flow. A'a lava, when it's flowing, is usually between 1,000 and 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Because it's cooler, it is a more viscous, thicker flow, and it flows pretty slowly. A'a lava maybe you'll get up to 3 to 5 miles per hour when it's really moving out downhill. Again, it's a very thick flow, and the outer portions of the A'a lava that are exposed to the air are cooled to the temperature where they begin to transition from the liquid state to the solid state, meaning that it's trying to crust up and turn to rock. However, in this thick flow, the lava that is beneath it and behind it still molten, still a little bit hotter, still slowly flowing along. And so what happens is, as that outer layer of the A'a lava is turning to rock, the molten lava that's beneath it and behind it is slowly breaking it up and churning it. And so it kind of breaks it up and it creates that layer of very chunky, rough textured rock on the outer, that floats along on the outer surfaces. They call those clinkers.